Evileye, whose real name is Kenofazris Invern, is an Adamantite ranked adventurer and the main magic caster of the all-female team, Blue Roses. But before that, she was known as the legendary vampire lord Landfall, a name feared all across the New World. According to the legends in the New World, Landfall was destroyed by the 13 heroes 200 years ago, but the truth is different. Evileye was actually a companion of the 13 heroes themselves. She fought alongside them against the demon gods, also called evil deities, even helping to take down the insect demon god. Originally, she wasn't a vampire at all. Evileye was born as a rainbow eye, a rare race gifted with special eyes and incredible talent in elemental magic. Her natural ability let her copy any spell she saw, but this talent's what changed her fate. When she accidentally copied a wild magic spell from the Elder Coffin Dragon Lord, she turned herself into a vampire. This transformation froze her appearance at the age she became undead, which is why she still looks young even after centuries. Over time, Evileye built up a terrifying reputation. People blamed her for the fall of Inveria, but in reality, it was more likely the work of Curelem Los Malvar, that same Dragon Lord. She carried the name Landfall and was feared as one of the most dangerous undead in history. Legends say she was strong enough to destroy a whole country and turn it into an undead paradise. Eventually, Blue Roses fought against Evileye to make her join their group and replace Rigrit. Because it would be unpleasant to show her true power, accidentally forcing her old friend to be resurrected, she was defeated without showing her full abilities. Within Blue Roses, Evileye specializes as an elementalist in earth-based magic, particularly crystal generation and gravity manipulation. She focuses heavily on crystals and gravity spells, which makes her insanely powerful but also hyper-specialized. For example, against Entoma of the Pleiades battle maids, Evileye's crystal spells were strong enough to deal real damage, something most people couldn't even dream of. However, her element-based skills also leave her open to certain counters. Some of her main spells include Crystal Lance, Crystal Wall, and Crystal Dagger, which smash through defenses with pure damage. She also has the 5th tier spell, Ainz Ooal, one of her strongest spells which locks down enemies by immobilizing, blinding, and silencing them. On top of that, she can stack her spells with negative energy, draining life force directly from her enemies. Evileye hides her vampire identity with a magic ring. Her racial and job classes include True Vampire, Vampire Princess, Sorcerer, and Earth Elementalist. She can use up to 5th tier magic, and has even innovated her own spell, Verminbane, to wipe out bug-type enemies. Thanks to her spell copying talent, she can even store super tier and wild magic spells, though they scale to her own stats. Against someone like Entoma, she tried everything from Sandfield to Region Petrification, but those didn't work. Her strongest move against Entoma would have been a maximized shard buckshot, but that would have hurt her own team too. She did have Verminbane, a high tier spell she came up with herself, but it drained way too much mana and was really only useful if Entoma called out a swarm of bugs. Even though she didn't like using them, her best bet in the end was an acid spell. Before Re-Estize's fall, Evileye uses Resist Weakening and Charm Person on Lakius, making her leave Re-Estize with Blue Roses. After that, Blue Roses head southeast toward Inveria, which is most likely their destination. Evileye's life branches into 2 versions. One is the Evileye we know in Blue Roses. The other is Keno, who exists as an alternate possibility. As Keno, she survived Inveria's fall under Ainz's protection, but ended up much weaker. She focused less on unique magic and more on supporting Ainz, even taking jobs that helped him with intelligence gathering. Basically, the job classes she acquired don't synergize well with her overall build. Her spell copying talent stayed the same, though it still had the same limits. She could store any spell she witnessed, even super tier or wild magic, but only once, and casting it would depend on her own stats, making it weaker than the original. She couldn't dismiss any stored spells either, which made it kind of risky. As for whether she stores a spell, that depends on whether Evileye wants it. However, it is impossible for Evileye, as Keno, to use her talent to its full potential. When she casts a spell, its effects are based on her own stats, and normal spellcasting rules still apply. So, if she used the super tier spell Fallen Down, it would take the usual time to cast, but because her stats are lower, it would deal less damage than if Ainz cast it. As Kenna, she also discovered the dark truth of her own existence. When Inveria fell, she unconsciously copied Curellin's wild magic, which absorbed the souls of her people and turned her into an undead. The only reason she kept her mind was because she kept sustaining the spell. If it ever broke or dispelled, she'd become a mindless zombie, like her parents. Even though she was the weakest fighter, Kenna earned respect as the sage of the new alternative Ainz Ooal Gown. It's implied that her hidden power could still wipe out a city if she chose to. After the fall of Inveria, Kenna dedicated herself to researching ways to borrow, seize, or even steal the power of the gods in hopes of restoring her people to normal. But no matter what she tried, her efforts failed to produce any results. Blue Rose is an Adamantite adventurer team made up of 5 women. You've got the warrior, the rogues, the leader who wields a demonic sword from the 13 heroes, and of course, Evileye as the arcane magic caster. There's another former member who was also one of the 13 heroes, but we'll get to her later. Funny enough, in the current route where Kenna lives on as Evileye, she's head over heels for Momon, who's actually Ainz's adventurer identity. She's so smitten that she's ready to drop Blue Roses entirely and join Darkness if Momon ever asks her to. Gagaran. Gagaran is an Adamantite ranked adventurer and a warrior of Blue Roses. She's one of the strongest adventurers in the Re-Estize Kingdom and is best known for wielding her war pick. It's a weapon she can use up close or throw at range with sheer brute force. She can also string together devastating combinations of strikes through martial arts. While her use of magic is limited, she can enhance her weapons with spells that boost their attack power. Gagaran has taken levels in Knight, Air Rider, and Mercenary. Her most famous move is a super combo where she activates multiple martial arts at once, hitting like a crashing wave of attacks. This move is incredibly powerful and cannot be stopped by normal defensive techniques. Only geniuses capable of using skills like Invulnerable Fortress can block it. According to her adventurer sheet, Gagaran was one of the founding members of Blue Rose, and she's the one who saved Lakius when she first ran away from her noble family. Even though her real identity is a mystery, she doesn't even use her true name, Gagaran is the most trusted member of the group. Not just because of her strength, but also because of her broad-minded, reliable personality. She's basically the older brother figure of the team. In battle, Gagaran's gear is packed with first-rate magic items. She wears the full plate armor, Gazebane, which has eye-like patterns on the chest, and her gauntlets. The Carry K on gauntlets can heal allies just by touch. Her massive spiked war pick is called Fell Iron, and it's strong enough to cause the ground to collapse or even shake like a mini earthquake when swung. She also carries the Crimson Guardian Cape, a vest of resistance, a dragon tooth amulet, a belt of greater power, winged boots, a twister circlet, and multiple enchanted rings. On top of that, she owns a bunch of magic bells that detect doors, remove traps, or open locks. During a tournament, she once faced Gazef Stronov and was defeated. Outside of battle, Gagaran treats Climb as a junior and often teaches him swordsmanship. However, she is notorious for her cherry-picking hobby, meaning she openly goes after young, pure guys. She even calls Climb Cherry Boy all the time, no matter how much he begs her to stop. For her, it's less a nickname and more like a greeting. If Climb ever answered yes to her invitation, she'd drag him straight into a private room without hesitation. With her insane arm strength, Climb wouldn't stand a chance. Just hope she doesn't end up punished by the Yandir princess afterwards. Tina. Tina is an Adamantite ranked adventurer of Blue Roses and one of the infamous triplet sisters. Alongside her sister Tia, she was once part of the deadly assassin guild Ejania, based out of the Baharuth Empire. The two were known as the twin killers lurking in the shadows. Back in the day, Tina and her sisters had such a terrifying reputation that people believed they could kill anyone they set their sights on. They were even hired to assassinate Lakius, but when Tina and Tia faced her, they lost. Instead of killing them, Lakius offered them a spot in Blue Rose. At first, the two accepted, just to wait for the right time to betray her, but over time, they actually came to enjoy the adventurer lifestyle. Now, instead of plotting against their leader, Tina and her sister are loyal to the point they'd give up their lives to protect their teammates. As a former Egenia assassin, Tina is skilled in stealth and infiltration. With her long limbs, tight-fitting clothes, and assassin experience, she looks and fights exactly like someone versed in thief-type techniques. Her main weapon is the Vampire Blade, a magic dagger that drains the blood of its victims and leaves them looking like they were attacked by a vampire, perfect for covering up assassinations. She can also use moves like Shadow Step, letting her teleport short distances from one shadow to another. On missions, Tina and Tia usually handle the intelligence work. Tina's investigations alone have exposed slave trade leaders and nobles connected with Coco Doll, one of the 8 Fingers. She and her sister even snuck into a village owned by the Syndicate, stole all the documents, and then burned the place to the ground. Tia is an Adamantite ranked adventurer and a member of Blue Roses. Alongside Tina and Tira, she's one of the triplet sisters who are the masterminds of the Assassin's Guild known as Egenia. As an Adamantite adventurer, Tia was raised as an assassin. She's cold and professional, and the loss of life usually doesn't affect her at all. Both she and Tina grew up trusting only each other and never relying on anybody else. But after joining up with Lakius, she slowly started to develop a real power of friendship with her teammates. At one point, Tia fought against Entoma alongside Evileye and Gagaran. Thanks to their teamwork, they almost managed to finish her off. But that was stopped by Jaldabaoth, who showed up and saved Entoma. When Evileye ordered Tia and Gagaran to retreat, they were caught by Jaldabaoth's Hellfire Wall. The black flames swallowed them, their bodies twitched like puppets, and they collapsed lifelessly. Later, Lakius revived them. Even though resurrection left them weakened and drained, they still chose to join the battle against the demon army attacking the Re-Estize Kingdom. But since they used up a lot of their life force, they have to put themselves in danger, walking the edge of life and death to regain their strength. Just like Tina, Tia's job classes include Rogue, Assassin, and Ninja. She carries vampire daggers, kunai, and poison needles. In fact, she once used those poison needles to weaken Lakius during a plot to escape with the Blue Roses to another country, possibly in Veria. Tia's ninjutsu is where her real skills shine. With Cage Bunshin no Jutsu, she can create clones from her shadow. The copies are only a quarter as strong as the real Tia, and their agility depends on how much mana she puts into them. Against Entoma, the clones weren't much of a threat. What really mattered was Tia's own skill. In Yggdrasil, ninjas are a job class that requires a minimum character level of 60. That means the teleportation technique Gagaran used to escape Entoma's attack was actually ninjutsu. Since Tia is a real ninja, even Entoma wouldn't be able to win easily. Another move Tia used is the Fudo Kongo Tate no Jutsu, or immovable adamantine shield. This technique summoned a giant 6-pointed star shield glowing with light. Entoma's bug smashed into it until the barrier shattered, but Tia came out completely unharmed. On top of that, she can use Dark Crossing to teleport through shadows, bursting Flame Column to trigger a fiery implosion, and Hide Shadow to vanish into darkness. According to the author Maruyama, Tia has her own questionable tastes. In one of her meetups with Renna, Lakius once said that she didn't bring Tia to meet Renna because Tia would fill her head with nonsense. Ironically, Tina ended up doing the same thing by telling Climb he was too big, whatever that means. Lakius Alvain Dale Aindra. Lakius is an Adamantite-ranked adventurer and the leader of Blue Roses. She's one of the strongest humans in the Re-Estize Kingdom. She even wields one of the legendary weapons once used by the 13 heroes. Interestingly, she's also the niece of another Adamantite adventurer, Azuth of Raindrop. And before all this, she was a noblewoman of the now fallen kingdom. Despite that privileged life, she ran away after hearing her uncle's adventurous stories, choosing the path of an adventurer instead. Having mastered both the cleric and priest classes, she became a warrior priest, a divine magic user who serves the water god. Despite her holy powers, she also wields a strong sword in battle. She's the only person in the kingdom capable of using 5th tier resurrection magic, a spell that can bring back the dead, but with some cost of vitality and loss of 5 levels. Considered a genius, she was just 19 when she reached Adamantite rank. That's insanely young, and it's why she's considered a figure who stepped foot into the realm of heroes. When it comes to battle, Lakius isn't just about healing or buffs. She can use group support spells to empower her allies, cast silent healing on herself, and even push her body and mind to superhuman limits. In fact, her teammates once had to carefully plan just to weaken her enough to make her vulnerable to mind control magic. Her journey of adventure started with Gagaran, and the former member who was once part of the 13 heroes. She later recruited Tia and Tina after they tried to assassinate her. Together, Blue Roses pulled off huge feats, like clashing with the Sunlight Scripture of the Slain Theocracy, where she even scarred Negan's face. Her main weapon is the cursed demonic sword, Kalinaram, a dark blade thought to have belonged to one of the 4 swords of darkness of the 13 heroes, Dark Knight. This sword contains a night sky within it, and if too much magic pours in, it could explode with enough force to wipe out a city or even a nation. She constantly has to suppress its curse with her own strength. Besides that, she has pure white snow, a set of glittering platinum full plate armor with unicorn etchings. Only pure maidens can wear it. She also has the Speedy Mouse mantle, which boosts her speed and evasion, and a set of floating swords she can launch into battle. Add to that 5 armor rings she crafted herself, though according to Mariyama, they don't really do much. Her main signature moves include Darkblade Mega Impact, which releases destructive dark energy from Kalinaram. With a single horizontal sweep, black power surged out in a massive slashing wave. After use, the weaker demons were instantly obliterated, their bodies reduced to nothing by explosive burst of pure, non-elemental energy. Another notable move is Raise Dead, her 5th tier resurrection spell. Like Ainz Summer himself, Lakius is a bit of a Chunibyo. Sometimes she slips into what her friends call Dark Lakius mode. For example, she'll stand dramatically with her sword under the moonlight, declaring how she struggles to restrain its dark power. Or she'll suddenly shout things like, "Don't underestimate my dark power!" in the middle of the night, waking poor Gagaran. Another time, Lakius held up her hand and cried out for the ring of the Holy Valkyrie to grant her protection. Gagaran, peeking in from a cracked door, couldn't hold back and yelled at her, leaving Lakius red with embarrassment. Azuth. Azuth is a former noble from the Re-Estize Kingdom, and a member of the Adamantite ranked adventurer team, Red Drop. Azuth's main weapon is the powered suit he uses, called the Armor of Reinforcement. This armor is a Yggdrasil item that comes with a heavy, enchanted machine gun. Back in Yggdrasil, these suits were added later in the game to help new players level up quickly. Despite being designed for newcomers, their capabilities are still incredibly high. For example, the suit lets him fly faster than the fly spell, operate underwater for over an hour with no drawbacks, and shrug off almost any kind of environmental damage. On top of that, it can apply different offensive spells to different parts of the body and even customize its magical armaments. However, you can only store spells up to the 10th tier, and they have cooldown restrictions. Stronger spells are even more limited. Though the number of uses recovered over time once a spell was stored in it, it could not be replaced for a set duration, even if only a portion of its power had been used. The suit itself offers top-tier physical and magical defense, no matter who's wearing it. It can't be combined with other armor pieces, and the spells stored inside can't have meta magic applied to them. Plus, it does not boost HP or MP, which means if someone weak puts it on, they'll basically have great defense, but a very low health pool. To put it simply, Floor Guardians wouldn't have much trouble with a powered suit user, but even the Pleiades maids would be smart to retreat if they ran into one. At its peak, the strongest powered suits can dish out offensive power on par with a level 80 character. Azuth's suit raises his offense and defense, but doesn't fix the HP problem, so his actual combat ability is tied almost entirely to this item. Without it, his power drops to around Orichalcum rank. Among Adamantite adventurers, he's considered the weakest in combat. Basically, his entire build of fighter, sniper, and athletic masterclasses is geared toward operating the suit as efficiently as possible. After the fall of the Re-Estize Kingdom, Azuth secured his safety in the Argland Council state. He even tried to warn his brother about the kingdom's collapse, urging him to escape, but his brother refused. His brother asked Azuth to take care of his child, who was later taken by Azuth's companions to Argland. Azuth is Lakius' uncle. He inspired her to become an adventurer by telling her stories of his journeys. Azuth is the type to say things like, if you long for a hero, then it's that hero's duty to grant your wish, while cuddling with women in their birthday suits. Although Lakius looked up to him as a hero, she is super embarrassed by his womanizing lifestyle. Azuth worked with Saint Dorcas Vajon, the Platinum Dragon Lord. Saint Dorcas assigned him the job of drawing albedo away from the world-isolating barrier. The thing is, Saint Dorcas himself admitted, at least in his head, that Azuth probably wouldn't stand a chance if albedo got serious. He didn't say it out loud because if Azuth knew the truth, he'd never agree to help. From Saint Dorcas' perspective, Azuth isn't the valuable part, it's the powered suit. In fact, he even thought about disposing of Azuth outright and giving the suit to someone stronger. Luisenborg Alberion. Luisenborg is an Adamantite ranked adventurer and a member of Red Drop. He's actually mentioned back in Volume 2 through Clementine's words. According to her, there were only 5 people in the Re-Estize Kingdom who could give her a proper fight. Gazif Stronov, Gagaran, Brain on Glors, the retired Vestia Clofty Laufen, and Luisenborg of Red Drop. Even though Clementine arrogantly claimed that none of them could actually beat her, the fact that Luisenborg was on that shortlist says a lot about his standing as a top-class warrior in the New World. Because Azuth is the only Red Drop member who remained in the capital, it's likely that Luisenborg and the rest of the Red Drop adventurers were away on a mission. Their task was to escort Azuth's nephew to safety in the Argland Council state. Vestia Clofty Laufen. Vestia was once an Adamantite-ranked adventurer and the mentor of Gazif Stronov. He belonged to another group of Adamantite adventurers, though they've all long since retired. He's best known for creating the martial art that became Gazif's trump card. The six-fold slash of light was originally developed by Vestia as an evolution of the four-fold slash of light. Because of his age, Vestia couldn't pull it off himself, so he passed the technique on to Gazif, who mastered it and made it his ultimate move. While Gazif called him a mentor, Vestia himself insisted Gazif wasn't his student. He says he only gave him guidance. If Brain on Glors' nail clipper was about stacking multiple martial arts at once, Gazif's six-fold slash of light was the strongest single technique, and all thanks to Vestia's foundation. As a former Adamantite-ranked adventurer, Vestia was a master swordsman and martial artist in his own right. According to intel from the Windflower scripture, he was listed among the 5 people who could actually challenge Clementine, which says a lot about his power. To make sure his swordsmanship didn't die with him, Vestia allowed 2 of the 6 great disciples to pass on his teachings to orphans alongside Brain. After Gazif's death, Brain sought out Vestia for training. With Vestia's help and relentless practice, Brain eventually managed to perform the six-fold slash of light. That said, he never reached the same level of mastery Gazif had. Instead, Brain took what he learned and combined it with his own techniques. So while Field and God Slash stayed the same, switching from four-fold slash of light to six-fold slash of light turned it into a brand new technique. This became Brain's ultimate move, True Nail Clipper. Freivalds. Freivalds is an Adamantite class adventurer and leader of the Silver Thread Bird, also known as Silver Canary. They're one of the 2 Adamantite ranked adventurer groups in the Baharuth Empire, and the highest level team in the nation. Jurgniv himself even heard of their heroic saga about slaying the Radiant Crawler. Silver Canary was considered a weird team made up of weird members. The only thing they shared was the Silver Canary feather they each carried from the bird that they once raised. According to Gagaran, their members all had exotic professions and unusual skills. But their overall ability was actually lower than that of people with standard jobs. Some said they weren't even true Adamantite level. But on the flip side, as long as they worked together and focused on a problem, they could pull off feats even other Adamantite adventurers couldn't handle. That's why whether they really qualify as the so-called secret weapons of humanity remains in doubt. Freivalds is a blessing-type magic caster who comes from an alternative magic system. He's a bard who can cast magic through songs, a style known as spell song. It's different depending on the user and can be performed with various instruments, but Freivalds invokes it with his singing. However, his singing doesn't sound like normal songs at all. It's more like a string of bizarre sounds with parts you can hear but not fully understand. Spell songs can carry suggestion effects like regular spells, meaning they can also manipulate someone or even charm people to some extent. He can also cast magic, which detects the presence of people nearby. It could detect even an invisible person. As an Adamantite adventurer, Freivalds has been said to have reached the realm of heroes. Equipment-wise, Freivalds carried a lute called Star Symphony, a rapier at his waist, and a chain shirt that emitted strange magical lights. Silver Threadbird themselves also worked directly under Emperor Jerknov at one point. During a secret meeting with emissaries of the slain theocracy and high priests of the Empire inside the Colosseum, they were hired as bodyguards. At that time, Jerknov even gave them permission to command the Empire's 4 knights as they saw fit. After Ainz's fight with Gogin, Freivalds and his team decided to move their base to the Carcinus City-State Alliance. Poapon. Poapon is an Adamantite-class adventurer and a member of Silver Threadbird. He comes from an unusual class known as the Toten Shamans. Appearance-wise, Poapon stood out the most among his team. His upper body was painted with strange white patterns against his tanned black skin, a look connected to his Totem Shaman class. He also carries a magic item that protects him from temperature changes, meaning he can't feel cold at all. Jerknov himself had gotten reports about Poapon's odd appearance, only to learn that underneath it all, he was just a regular person. The dissonance surprised him, since up close Poapon was actually quite young and rather handsome. Fanlong. Fanlong is an Adamantite-ranked adventurer from the Silver Threadbird team. He's an ape beastman, covered in red fur and standing about 170 centimeters tall. He wears armor made of white fur and carries battle axes at his waist. What makes him special is his class, Beast Lord. Through it, he channels the spirit of the apes, boosting his power far beyond normal beastmen. Just from appearances alone, he looks even stronger than Bazerwood, Jerknov's strongest warrior. Unke. Unke is an Adamantite-ranked adventurer and a member of Silver Threadbird. He's a humble monk who follows the Buddha. In the New World, it's a faith that comes from the far south. Unke is bald, having shaved his head for his faith, and wears a huge straw hat called a fukamigaza. His outfit is a kaza, a monk's robe, and he carries a shakujo staff that he often thumps on the ground to channel his powers. As an Adamantite adventurer, Unke is a monk, a type of spiritual magic caster. They're not the best at healing, but they're incredibly effective against the undead. Unke demonstrated skill in divination, once using it to investigate the surroundings without leaving any obvious signs of a spell being cast. He was also capable of erecting a magical barrier to block divination spells. Unlike their leader, he could not sense people directly, but his anti-divination magic was cleverly configured to send him an alert whenever someone attempted magical surveillance. Kalen O'Sodeston is an Adamantite-class adventurer and a member of Silver Threadbird. He's known as the Dark Cloud and is recognized as the fixer of the Thief Job class. Kayla holds thief classes and is also called the Planner or Fixer. There's little concrete information about him, but he seems more connected to the underworld than ordinary thieves, with a focus on ambushes and assassination. He has a rustic and casual way of speaking, which he claims comes naturally from the way he was raised. Jerknov described him as a short, stocky man whose smiling face was offset by disproportionately small eyes that lacked warmth. Although he is known by the name Dark Cloud, Kayla himself has never actually referred to himself with that title. 8 Ripples. 8 Ripples was one of the 2 Adamantite-ranked adventurer groups from the Baharut Empire. Unlike Silver Threadbird, none of its members were ever introduced, but the team was known to fight as a 9-man unit. Their real strength came from numbers and teamwork. Some people argued they weren't truly at the Adamantite level on an individual basis, but others believed that when 8 Ripples focused together on a single problem, they could take on threats even other adventurer groups of the same rank couldn't handle. That being said, some went as far as saying that 8 Ripples wasn't truly worthy of their rank at all. After Silver Threadbird left the Empire, 8 Ripples became the only Adamantite group in the nation. Cerabrate. Cerabrate is an Adamantite-ranked adventurer and the leader of Crystal Tier, the Dragon Kingdom's only Adamantite adventurer group. Their team is often deployed to repel invasions from the neighboring Beastman country. Known by the title Fierce Flash, Cerabrate is considered one of the strongest swordsmen in the New World. His skill places him in the same league as Gazif, Brain, Gagaran, the Dark Knight of the Heroes of Castner City-State Alliance, and Optics of the Worker Team Blazing Inferno. Cerabrate belongs to the Holy Knight class and also possesses the vocation of Holy Lord. His nickname comes from his mastery of the sword technique Shining Blade, which earned him a reputation for overwhelming speed and precision in battle. However, his character leaves much to be desired. Cerabrate is openly drawn to lolly-type characters. Whenever he speaks to Jordalan Auriculus, the Dragon Queen, in her childlike transformation, his eyes linger far too long, much to her disgust. The Dragon Kingdom's Prime Minister insisted that Cerabrate be the one to lead the decapitation strike against the invading Beastmen. He argued that as long as Jordalan played the role of an innocent young girl, Cerabrate's devotion would ensure he risked his life to protect her and the nation. Details about the other members of Crystal Tier remain unknown, but Jordalan herself has admitted that the Adamantite adventurers in her kingdom are far from decent people, Cerabrate being the clearest example. Rigrit Bur's Cowrow. Rigrit is a legendary figure in the New World. As both a necromancer and an Adamantite-ranked adventurer, she was once a member of the 13 Heroes. At one point, she was even a member of Blue Rose before her retirement. Over 200 years ago, Rigrit joined the 13 Heroes to fight back against the swarm of evil deities threatening the world. When the group disbanded, she spent much of her time in seclusion, honing her magic and extending her natural lifespan far beyond that of a normal human. Alongside Fluda, she is one of the only humans known to have lived for more than a century purely thanks to magic. Fluda even considers her the rival he wanted to surpass to truly become the greatest magic caster in history. According to Fluda, in the past 200 years he hasn't seen any arcane magic caster stronger than himself. He only ever met one person on his level. While he thought the other magic casters in the 13 Heroes were impressive, the one he was most wary of was Rigrit. During her time in the Blue Rose, Rigrit and the other members defeated Evileye, whom she calls a crybaby, forcing her into the Blue Rose as her replacement. According to Rigrit herself, she told Evileye, "If I can beat you, you'll have to listen to me," and then promptly smacked her down. Rigrit is regarded as the strongest human magic caster of her time, specializing in necromancy with the ability to control undead. Since the strongest of the 13 heroes were said to wield 5th tier magic, it's safe to assume that she could do the same even back then. She once crossed blades with Brain, and though both came away uninjured, later volumes suggest she was the one who emerged victorious. Rigrit also has a history with St. Dorcas Vaishon, who once traveled with the 13 heroes while hiding his true identity behind the platinum armor. When it was revealed that he was actually the Platinum Dragon Lord, Rigrit and the others were furious at being deceived. Even centuries later, she still takes jabs at him for it. If you want to dive deeper into that story and find out who St. Dorcas really is, check out this video where we explain every known Dragon Lord in Overlord in just a few minutes. In the present day, Rigrit is one of the few retired Adamantite-ranked adventurers from the Re-Estize Kingdom. One is Vestia, who founded a sword school, 2 others wandered off on journeys, and Rigrit herself faded into semi-retirement. Ainz Ooal Gown. Ainz was once Suzuki Satoru, an ordinary man living in World 2138. In Yggdrasil, he went by the name Amonga, and eventually took on the name Ainz Ooal Gown to spread the name of his guild. In the New World, Ainz became the Sorcerer King, founding the Sorcerer Kingdom and cementing himself as the most powerful magic caster alive. At the same time, he created a second identity, Momon, the so-called Dark Hero. As Momon, he holds the Adamantite rank, and is regarded as the strongest adventurer in Ainz Ooal. His adventurer persona serves a bigger purpose. Ainz wanted to live in Ainz Ooal for a time, study human society and blend into it. By becoming a famous adventurer, he could gather information while avoiding unnecessary conflicts with the humans. Darkness, the adventurer group he leads as Momon, eventually swore allegiance to the Sorcerer Kingdom after Ainz took control of Ainz Ooal, all according to plan. Naturally, Momon doesn't walk around with his most powerful items since that would draw suspicion. Instead, he re-equips relic class items, which are strong but still 2 tiers below Ainz's best equipment. His armor was forged with the spells of a level 100 caster. Its hardness increased with its creator's level, making it as hard as adamantium despite not having magical properties of its own. When it comes to fighting style, Ainz has no martial arts, and his technique can look rough. However, his raw power and physical stats are so overwhelming that it hardly matters. Even Clementine could have been defeated by a single careless blow. When Ainz casts Perfect Warrior, he temporarily converts his caster levels into warrior levels, letting him dual-wield great swords with skill and even equip certain weapons and armor he normally couldn't use. Although he can't cast spells while in this form, he makes up for it by pulling out powerful weapons like Frostpain modified from his item box, or using Create Greater item to forge new equipment. As Momon, his equipment includes sure-hit glasses, the Crown of Mental Fortitude, Black Widow spider clothes, a black belt, yarn graper, a Nemean lion pendant, haste boots, and a red cape modeled after an American anti-hero's look. Known as the Necroplasmic Mantle, his signature weapons are his twin great swords, created with Create Greater items specifically for this persona. Some of Momon's greatest feats include defeating Clementine, forcing Yaldabaoth to retreat, slaying a gigant basilisk without healer support, taming the wise king of the forest who later became his pet Hamsuke, and more. While these achievements look legendary to the people of the New World, many were orchestrated by Ainz or Demiurge to boost Momon's reputation. By raising Momon into a national hero, Ainz gave the people of Erantil a protector they could trust. The citizens see Momon as their champion, standing up to the Sorcerer King, never realizing that both are the same person. But if you want to see Ainz's true power as the Supreme Overlord, we've got a video breaking down all his S spells. Click here and check it out. Narberal Gamma. Narberal is a doppelganger battle maid from the Pleiades battle maids. However, most people in the New World know her better as Nabe, the adventurer who partners with Momon. She's an Adamantite ranked adventurer and already one of the strongest in the New World. Because of her looks, people in the New World call her Beautiful Princess, with many comparing her beauty to Renna's. Nabe's human form comes from her doppelganger transformation skill, but with her low racial level, she can only assume a single form. Ainz chose her to accompany him because of her humanoid appearance. Nabe herself believed Albedo would have been a better choice. Ainz explained that he trusts Albedo more than anyone to manage Nazarick while he's away. He didn't bring her along because her contempt for humans and lack of disguise skills would make her a liability in a city. The bigger reason, though, was something he'd never admit. Ainz himself didn't feel confident enough to run Nazarick by himself. When in disguise, Nabe was ordered to call Ainz Momon instead of Ainz Sama, but she struggled to adjust and often settled on Momon-san. Like most Nazarick NPCs, she sees humans as inferior creatures. The only human she doesn't look down on is her sister Oriol. Nabe is an arcane magic caster specializing in air elemental magic. This amplifies her lightning spells while making her other magic slightly weaker. She can technically wield weapons and armor, but her skill as a warrior is only average. Her spells make her devastating in combat. Fluder even noted that she could use 8th tier magic at maximum. For gear, Nabe carries the Koronos MK3 weapon, a ring of sustenance, maid armor, and a magical statue that lets her summon a warhorse mount during quests. According to Lapis Regina, Nabe is always on guard when she's out with Ainz, ready to blast anyone who disrespects him while keeping constant watch for hidden threats. And that's every Adamantite adventure in Overlord explained. Which one of these adventures is your favorite? Drop your pick in the comments, and if you want to keep the adventure going, click on the video on screen where we dive into the strongest beings of the New World.